UFC 313 was kind of a disaster. It felt like a cursed card. We had 2 fights drop today, just hours before the card started. Then the card did start, and the first 2 fights of the night had some interesting decisions. As we got closer to the pay-per-view, people started mentioning they can't buy it. The ESPN app isn't working. You cannot buy the pay-per-view, and then the main event was a letdown. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap the entire UFC 313 fight card. Before we talk about the fights, let's talk about some of the bets that we gave you. If you didn't know, on our website, wewantpicks.com, we give you bets. It's me and a couple of other guys. I didn't have the best night. I had a bet refunded because it was canceled in John Castaneda. I had 2 other bets on the board that the odds were more than cut in half. I had a plus money parlay with Josh Van and Curtis Blades that turned into a minus 170 money line on Josh Van. And then obviously I missed that Morono Leal over 1.5 to blow out that parlay. Jakey Boy, on the other hand, had a spectacular night. His underdog lock of the week hit in Bruno Ferreira at plus 130. His backup underdog lock of the week hit in Ignacio Bahamondes. He hit a plus 350 prop bet on Rafael Fiziev to get a single takedown. Turns out that guy got 2. And then Bet Sam had a spectacular fight night as well. He had Carlos Leal to win by KO, and he had the Josh Van by decision at plus 300. And before you throw a temper tantrum and start screaming from the rafters that plus 300 doesn't exist, well, we posted the tickets. It does exist. Bet Sam is in New Zealand. Whatever his sports books are, they don't know how to cap some of these lines because that plus 300 was one of the best bets I have seen. Overall, the boys put up about 6 units of net profit at 29% ROI on a fight card with only 10 fights, a bunch of weird decisions, and more underdogs than we've seen in a very, very long time. If you want to unlock all the bets for UFC Vegas 104, they're up now and they are ready to go. Just go to wewantpicks.com and then click to become a member at the top. That underdog lock of the week win for Jacob. The Bruno Ferreira win takes his underdog lock of the week streak into interesting territory. He has hit 5 of the last 6. He has hit 4 in a row. He has a 94% ROI betting only on a single underdog every single week. This is a 100% free pick, and he puts it out in a video called the Lock of the Week. So make sure you check those out, and we'll see the UFC Vegas 104 one in just a few days. We also had the best DraftKings ownership projections on the planet. We give out more than just some picks and bets on the website. We do a whole lot of things, including DraftKings Fantasy. One of the things that we offer is the ownership projections. And we had the best on planet Earth with a 5.05% margin of error. And on a card with 2 fights that dropped right before it went live, that is quite the feat. If you want to unlock anything and everything, you can do so now at WeWantPicks.com. Let's talk about these actual fights. We opened up the card with Ozzy Diaz taking on Djorden. He spells it with a D, but that is silent, Santos. This fight was a mess. This was a slug fight. And a lot of you complain, slug fight's not a word. Watch this fight and tell me it's not a slug fight. They're both exhausted. They're both swinging all crazy and stupid. It was a slobber knocker. It went back and forth. A lot of people felt like this was a bad decision and Djorden should have won. Frankly, I don't think it was close enough in either direction to call it a robbery, meaning I find with anything that happened, I felt like it was just sloppy. A lot of back and forth, a lot of chaos. Ozzy Diaz had big moments. Djorden had big moments. Ultimately, I think they gave it to Ozzy Diaz because he seemed fresher. Where Djorden always looked exhausted. He always looked like he was about to break. He kept coming forward. He fights like a man. I was totally fine with this decision. Neither one of these guys are very good. Okay? I put it out there. Neither one of these guys are very good. And this is the caution tale. Don't bet on UFC debuts. Because a lot of people, not me, bet on Djorden Santos. And it didn't work out. I don't know what the future holds for both of these guys. They both have wild haircuts. You can see Djorden Santos' haircut here. He was cut the sides real short, put a nice line. Makes no sense. Ozzy Diaz's haircut from this angle looks fantastic. What you don't see is there is 0 hair circling that chunk in the middle. So I think they both need to go back, shave their heads proper. It is what it is. It happens. And work on some of the tools. They both need to improve their cardio for sure. Both of them are fun. They are exciting. It was a very, very fun fight. And honestly, most of this card was fun. The undercard was far more fun than the main, but most of this card was fun. That took us to another fight that a lot of people felt was a robbery. And this one got a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, had a lot of people up in arms, including myself. We had Mairon Santos taking on Francis Marshall. It felt like Francis Marshall won this fight. Francis Marshall was landing clean. At one point, he dropped Santos. Francis Marshall was winning some of the wrestling scrambles. Like, this felt like Francis Marshall won this fight. But they gave it to Santos. And I understand it's round by round scoring, and a lot of these judges seem to only care about what happens the last minute of a fight. Like, if a fight is kind of close, but somebody's winning, and then the other person does anything for 30 seconds, a minute at the end, boom. Oh, you made my decision for me. And that feels like maybe that's what happened here. But ultimately, I do think this was a bad decision. I had no money on this, so unbiased Ange, it felt like Francis Marshall won this fight with sheer activity, with volume. His hands looked better than people expected. The wrestling scrambles were there. And Mairon Santos started to buy his own bullshit. Like, he got this win, congratulations, but he was coming into this fight talking about, oh, the UFC believes in me. They're investing money into me. I'm the next big thing. Dude, not like this. Not like this. Hopefully he gets a little humbled, and hopefully Francis Marshall can get back after it. He's got 2 losses in the UFC. He's got 3 losses in the UFC. A close one to William Gomez. He got smoked by a D1 wrestler. And then now this was a bad decision. I don't know why they don't like him, but he comes out there, he fights, he's exciting. All the credit to Francis Marshall. This was a very exciting fight, though. Again, a lot of this undercard was wildly exciting. This was one of those fights. Let me know what you think, if you felt like this was a bad decision. Also, next to your comment, if you think, like, what you felt about this decision, note if you bet on the fight or not. That's very important. I can't take you at your word if you're like, I bet on it, and I felt like it was a great decision. Oh, yeah? Who'd you bet on? So let me know if you bet on it and what your thoughts are. I felt like this was a bad decision. Ultimately, we'll take it. I didn't bet on it, but Jacob did. I believe BetSam did as well. So sometimes you get the good ones, sometimes you don't, and this time they got one. Then we had Carlos Leal and Alex Morono. This is where my most important parlay broke in half. Right at this moment. Right when Alex Morono's eyes are looking at the ground and he's just hoping for a way out. That is when things went south for Big Ange. Listen, Alex Morono's insanely tough. He's stupid. Like, he's dumb as shit. He's got the worst fight IQ in history. If you didn't watch Alex Morono fight in the past, right? If you never heard the commentary about him, you didn't know anything about him, and you watch this fight and you see him just bombing away like this, spinning around like he's a helicopter, trying to make something happen, you would assume, oh, this guy sucks on the ground, right? Like, that's why he's throwing baseballs. That's why he's spinning around, because he sucks on the ground. No, here's the thing. You're wrong. He's phenomenal on the ground. He's got unbelievable jiu-jitsu. He just doesn't use it. His whole thing is, it's boring, I'm not going to use it. If Ankalaev could have that same dumb fuck mindset, we'd have a much better night. Instead, Alex Morono has that mindset. A guy who's pretty tough, who has all the abilities to kind of win this fight and other fights, decides to just slug it out with a dude twice his size who hits twice as hard. Carlos Leal absolutely lit up Alex Morono. It wasn't even close. Alex Morono had 0 success whatsoever. He got finished with like 25 seconds left in the first round or something stupid like that. I had the over 1.5. 1.5. They moved that line to 2.5. Everybody was on. They moved it to 2.5. This didn't even go a full round. So let's talk about the fighters. Alex Morono, he should keep his job because he is entertaining. And ultimately, this is entertainment. This is sports entertainment. This is all about getting fans in, showing them a good time, having some fun watching fights. That's why this sport exists. This is not like football or basketball where you just root for a team no matter what, and you're trying to sell tickets locally every single week and maybe win a championship and there's seasons. No, this is sports entertainment. You see somebody fight 3 times a year if they're healthy, and hopefully they're exciting enough that they could throw them on a card and they know people will watch and be entertained. For that reason, Alex Morono should keep his job. Not for the success, because he's not having much lately, but for the fact that he's never in a boring fight ever. Now, Carlos Leal is going to be interesting because we don't know how good he is or is not just yet. Carlos Leal looked very good in his last fight. A short notice UFC debut against Rinat Fakhretdinov, a nonstop ridiculous wrestler, and he defended 17 of those takedowns. He let his hands go and he got robbed in a decision. Then he came back out here, winless in the UFC, and poured it on Alex Morono, a guy who does have wins in the UFC, and he showed him zero respect whatsoever, came forward, bombed away, just absolutely did his thing, and got Alex out of there, and he got him out of there pretty quick. And good for Carlos. I am now officially on the Carlos train. I picked him to win this fight, but I thought he wouldn't look as good as his first fight because, first of all, last time it was overseas. And the guy was clearly juiced to the gills. I mean, it was the steroids was bursting out of him in every angle. But now he shows up in this fight. He's still big, he's still cut, but not quite as much as he was last time. And all of a sudden, the back knee, the chest act, oh, it's all gone all of a sudden. And he didn't just get a bottle of Proactive. It's not 2001. So very interesting circumstances there, but it didn't matter. Still fast, still hit hard as hell. And we know he has good takedown defense from his last fight. I don't know what's next for Carlos Leal, but it's definitely something good because he looked spectacular in this fight. That took us right to Jacob's underdog lock of the week. And this is one of the coolest pictures of the night. This is Brunno Ferreira submitting Armen Petrosyan. This is a spectacular camera angle, like great picture. This was awesome. Now, the fight was awesome as well because Brunno Ferreira had some early success. In that first round, he had Armen Petrosyan rocked. He had him rocked bad. Then there was a couple of nut shots and a point deduction. So first, let's celebrate the referee for taking the point. We had two nut shots back-to-back in like 30 seconds. Armen Petrosyan blasted Brunno in the dick. Immediately after, blasted him in the dick again. Second time was even worse somehow. He got a warning, did it, and then the ref took a point. And that's what you should do. What is interesting, though, is shortly after that, not too much later, all of a sudden, Armen's grabbing the cage, preventing a takedown. Pretty big deal, too. So now the question becomes, why not a point for that as well? Does each foul have its own, you need a warning? Like if I hit you in the nuts, and then you warn me and I do it again, I lose a point. But if I hit you in the nuts and you warn me, don't hit the nuts, and then I poke you in the eye and you warn me, don't poke in the eye, then, I don't know, what's another foul? Then I do another foul. You warn me that. The warning should carry, it should be one warning, follow the rules. And ultimately, it didn't matter. Brunno Ferreira finished the dude. But I am curious to know, like, why wouldn't you take a point away from the fence grab as well? It was a very important fence grab. This was a good fight. This was a nice, fun, back-and-forth fight. Brunno Ferreira hits like an absolute freight train. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got good wrestling. He's got good judo. He's a little short. He's a little small, but it's okay because he makes up for it with a pretty good chin. Just bombs forward, just moves nice and tight, and just throws big overhands over the top. I do wish he had a little more cardio. He just looks like he's about to be exhausted and everything he does just looks like he's about to go out. He's about to be done. He is exhausted. But ultimately, he pushed through. Made it happen. Wasn't that exhausted. Was totally fine. So Brunno Ferreira looked spectacular in this fight. Armen Petrosyan can do one thing. He does that one thing pretty well. He was winning some of the striking exchanges. But he can only do one thing. And when you only have to worry about one thing, if you only have to worry about striking or if you only have to worry about wrestling, you can have more success. So Brunno Ferreira looks spectacular. Jacob's underdog lock of the week at plus 130. Phenomenal win here. And Jacob bet on the under 1.5, which hit here as well. So I don't know what they do with Armen Petrosyan. They may cut him. Back-to-back finish losses. Maybe 3 in a row. So they may cut him. But Brunno Ferreira obviously punched his ticket to another fight in the UFC because he's fun, he's entertaining, and he's winning these fights in pretty fun ways. Then we had the featured prelim of the evening. We had Josh Van take on Rei Tsuruya. And this fight was great. I mean, this was a great fight. Rei Tsuruya, a couple of things here. One, at one point in time, said he got kicked in the nuts and he didn't. Do you take a point away? If I actually kick you in the nuts, I lose a point. But if you pretend to get kicked in the nuts, why don't you lose a point? That's the new spitting of the mouthpiece out, right? The spitting of the mouthpiece out was an old school trick. In the 90s and the early 2000s, people just spit their mouthpiece out. And the ref would have to stop the action, pick up the mouthpiece, and you'd get yourself a little 30-second breather. Pretend you got kicked in the dicks, the new mouthpiece. I think you should start taking a point for faking stuff. Either way, this was a fun fight. And I'm not going to railroad Rei Tsuruya here because he did what he could do with his abilities. He's not a great striker. We know that. He knows that. He is a great wrestler. So what did he do? He took shot after shot after shot after shot. From the first minute of the fight to the last 5 seconds, he is shooting for takedowns, and he's getting deep, and he's working. He never once pulled guard. He never once quit on it. He never looked tired. And sometimes you're just not going to be the better fighter. Weeks ago, we broke down that bum loser Kevin Gisette, who just stood there in a staring contest. Kevin Gisette happens to be a high-level black belt in judo. You think that idiot used any judo? No, none. Didn't even try. Didn't even try. Lost that fight. Didn't even try. Here, we have somebody who also lost their fight. But he tried. He tried everything in his abilities. He did everything he could do to try to win this fight. And he didn't win, and that's fine. There's only one best in the world. And anytime I see effort, good for them. Because Rei Tsuruya is a young guy, and he looked great in this fight. Josh Van also looked spectacular in this fight. So I'm not going to railroad Rei. Obviously, he needs to work on his striking. Because if you can't take a dude down, you need at least a plan B. This goes back to what I said about the previous fight. If you're only worried about one thing, you can have a lot of success. The one and only thing Josh Van had to worry about was takedowns. At one point in time, he was taken down. Then he threw in a butterfly guard, got a full sweep. So Josh Van is good on the ground. Josh Van has phenomenal takedown defense, and we know Josh Van has good hands. How good is Josh Van? It's crazy. This kid is good, sneaky good too. Charles Johnson finished him in the third round of a fight that he was winning. I don't even know how that happened, honestly. I watched this fight, and it's like, how the hell did he get finished? Josh Van looked absolutely phenomenal in this fight. This was an unbelievable performance. I'm filming this before we know the bonuses of the night. I hope he got a performance of the night bonus. Just for being great. He didn't finish, but he looked great the whole time. And then he tweeted, he apologized. Sorry, I wish I could do more. Dude, do more with what? You have a guy diving at your legs full speed for 15 full minutes. You defended every one of those takedowns to the best of your ability. When you got taken down, you swept the dude. When you were on the feet, you were letting your hands go. Josh Van fought a phenomenal fight. I thought he looked absolutely spectacular. He definitely looked way better than his line. He was minus 170. He looked minus 350. He looked absolutely phenomenal in this fight. I don't know how good Josh Van is, but every time he fights, I'm like, God damn, what's next for this kid? Then we had the first fight on the main card. The main card opener. I'm going to talk about this fight longer than it actually lasted. We had a spinning heel kick knockout in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, a spinning heel kick knockout. We actually could have had 3 of these on this card, but this one did happen. There was a little bit of a range feeling out. Mauricio Ruffy is interesting to watch because he basically does nothing, right? He's not throwing. He's waiting, little big movements. Like he's just flowing, taking his time, gauging range. And at one point in time, and maybe I'm reading too much into this. This is like when people break down Dricus fights and they're like, look at this amazing technique. And then Dricus looks at that and he's like, I don't know what I was doing. I was just throwing shit. That's about what's going to happen right now. So the way Mauricio Ruffy landed this kick is he threw basically a fake punch. And then he stopped the punch here, full spins around, heel to the side of King Green's head, knocks him instantly unconscious. He fell down like a tree. It's a meme knockout. Like his face skidded across the mat as his body was flattening out. Okay, but he set it up by throwing the punch, stopping here, spinning the rest of his body. About 2 exchanges before that, he missed on a hook, stopped right there. Didn't do anything with it, just stopped right there like it was intentional. And I remember I commented to Jacob, I'm like, oh, what is he doing? Pretending that he didn't want that to land? And then just a few exchanges later, he does that exact same thing and sends the heel kick behind it. So I don't know if he was setting this up, prepping for it, or just 2 completely different exchanges that have nothing to do with each other. But either way, it is very clear that Mauricio Ruffy is creative, he hits hard as shit, and he has a lot of fun out there. The creativity is what is so interesting with him. It's the creativity that's going to separate him from the rest of the pack. The fact that he won with a spinning heel kick is nuts. And 2 fights ago, he opened up the fight with a scissor takedown. That's nuts. So this guy is creative. He's willing to take chances. He's a ton of fun. He just finished an old vet, but a straight-up vet that has wins over some very good people and has fought the current world champion and others. Mauricio Ruffy is very good, and this was a holy shit moment. He has 3 fights in the UFC. 2 of them were holy shit moments. I don't know how good Mauricio Ruffy is going to be, but he looks really good right now. Really good. And he's definitely a guy that when they put him against a wrestler, people are like, oh, wrestler. It's going to be hard to get in on him. He's got that Conor. They keep comparing him to Conor. He's got that wide stance. He's long. So you might be able to get in on a single pretty quick, but he's so long as you're coming forward. Bop, 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 bop. It's crazy what Mauricio Ruffy can do. This fight sucked. This fight was not very entertaining at all. This wasn't a very good fight, but the writing was on the wall the whole time. Amanda Lemos was the favorite for 90% of the time, and then like Monday or Tuesday, she flipped to an underdog. And the narrative from a lot of people, including myself, was I think Iasmin can get the takedowns here. I think she can get the takedown. She's an aggressive grappler. She's way younger. She's strong. I think she can get the takedowns. And instead of waiting to find out, Amanda Lemos, who is a Muay Thai striker, got her own takedowns, and she got them very quickly. And that's just good old veteran savvy. That's what comes with octagon time and experience. I'm not waiting for her. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to throw her off. I'm going to wrestle the wrestler. And that's what she did. 2 rounds, completely out-wrestled Iasmin Lucindo. First 2 rounds. What was interesting, though, that first round, she takes Iasmin down. Iasmin's throwing up arm bars, triangles, just working. And it was like, whoa, there's a big skill gap between these two. A big skill gap between these two on the ground. But Amanda Lemos kept her composure, stayed safe, ended up in guard, and then from there just controlled. This fight was not entertaining because of how good Amanda Lemos' defense was. In the 3rd round, Iasmin Lucindo finally gets a takedown. She ends up in a clinch, turns it into a takedown, and looked good on top. She was working for a head and arm, looked good on top. Where was that? That exact same pressure and activity, that exact same willingness to get the fight to the ground just 1 round earlier would have won you the fight. And if this tells you anything, it's just a reminder. Anytime I sit in this chair and I talk about a lady fight and the odds are a little wide and I say, hey, maybe I'll do a +3. Just do the +3.5. Just do it. Just do the +3.5. Because +3.5 on Amanda would have obviously paid. +3.5 on Iasmin when she was a dog would have obviously paid. I think, was it a 29-28? If it wasn't a 29-28, it should have been. So I could be wrong there. But it should have been a 29-28. Felt like Amanda won the first 2 rounds. Lucindo won the 3rd. Point being, a lot of these fights are really close. They mostly go to a decision. There's a lot of money to be made, more than just the over on the round line. Amanda Lemos used the veteran savvy, reminded people, hey, I'm in the top of this division for a reason. I fought the best in the division for a reason. I get she's young and she's fast and she's got lips to die for, but I'm at the top of this division for an absolute reason. So good for Amanda Lemos. Iasmin Lucindo just needs to get busier. Be busier. Don't wait. You initiate the takedowns. Be busier. Make something happen. This was an interesting fight. And I feel bad for Jalin Turner because Jalin Turner is a very good fighter. And yes, he has lost quite a few fights. 4 of his last 5, I believe. But Jalin Turner lost to Dan Hooker in a war. Mateusz Gamrot in a war. He lost to Renato Moicano after 99% knocking him out. And now he just lost to Ignacio Bahamondes after having early success and following him to the ground. I thought Jalin Turner was winning the striking exchanges, and we didn't have an extremely long fight. It was a 2.5-minute fight, but Jalin Turner looked like he was winning the striking exchanges. He was the one moving forward. He seemed to be landing. Then Ignacio shoots some dumb dick half-ass takedown. Jalin Turner ends up on top. And as soon as Jalin ended up on top, Ignacio was working. He was throwing up an arm bar, didn't quite get it. Half a triangle, didn't quite get it. Was making stuff happen with these insanely long limbs. And for some reason, Jalin Turner decided to just hang out down there. I'll chill on top. I'm comfortable here. The problem is, and he should know this because of how long he is, the problem is these insanely long guys are very hard to deal with on the ground. I've been doing jiu-jitsu since freaking long before half of you were born. I got my blue belt in 2004. And the biggest trouble I ever have is grappling anybody this long. Because they can wrap things up. They can tie things up. They can throw things up out of absolute nowhere. And as soon as you feel like you're comfortable, there's some long-ass body part coming for you. And it didn't make sense that Jalin was hanging out down there. It looked like he was doing well on the feet. And I fully understand engaging on the ground, waiting for a minute, right? You're in an advantageous position. You're on top. You're not just going to give that up for no reason. But as soon as it was like armbar, triangle, as soon as 3 different things happened, all right, I'm out of here. Nah, I'm not fucking with this. Let's go back to the feet where I was having success. But that's not what happened. He hung out. That friggin' triangle just got deeper and deeper and deeper. Jalin Turner said he retired. Why? Why are you retiring? You're still good. You lost to 3 people in the top 10. You lost to Ignacio Bahamondes, who's probably going to be in the top 10. Why in the world would you retire? You're not old. You didn't get smoked. Dude, getting caught in a submission on the ground is not like, I need to retire, I suck. Right? Getting knocked out cold standing on your feet, maybe it's a different conversation. But you lost to the second best wrestler in the division. You lost to an absolute gamer in Dan Hooker. You lost to a guy that you had knocked out, and the only reason you lost to him is because you completely had an adrenaline dump. You celebrated too early, it is what it is. And then you lost to a guy because you made a mistake on the ground. That's not retirement-esque. Jalin Turner, you are too good to retire. You're fine. Take a shower, ignore your DMs because people on the internet are fucking wild, and you will be fine. You're a good fighter. Get over it and move on. Ignacio Bahamondes, great fighter. The funny part is, though, he very clearly wanted a takedown. He trains with Bilal Muhammad. He wanted a takedown on this fight. Megan O'Leary was talking about all the jiu-jitsu, all the wrestling that Ignacio's doing, and I'm known for my striking, but I've been doing jiu-jitsu for... Dude, the guy's wrestling sucks. He's 0 for 6. He has never gotten a single takedown in his UFC career, and he's tried. Never one time. Just so bad at it. And this was a perfect example. Shot a takedown as soon as he had any pressure whatsoever, folded. Like, nah, okay, all right, you're on top. But striking is amazing. Jiu-jitsu is very good. Ignacio Bahamondes is very, very, very good. And if he can clean up the wrestling, Dagestan, 2-3 years, 1 phone call every 6 months. If he can clean that up, he's going to be a very, very big problem for a lot of people. A lot of people. Because of the length, the power, and the jiu-jitsu. Ignacio Bahamondes is very good. He just needs to clean some things up. Then we had the co-main event of the evening, and this was a spectacular fight. Rafael Fiziev won that first round. Looked good doing it too. Second round, dropped. Dropped bad. He survives. He makes it happen. Third round, kind of back and forth. Justin Gaethje won this fight. Justin Gaethje should have won this fight. Seemed pretty fair to me, right? This was a correct decision. What I would like to do is 2 things. One, the broadcast booth, the commentators just kept saying, Justin Gaethje's chin is back. Justin Gaethje's chin is back. The chin was there. You're right. But I don't think his chin was gone. Obviously, we saw him just completely horizontal flat on the canvas after Max Holloway laid into him. But I think those circumstances need to be factored in a little more. Because he went a full 24 minutes and 30 seconds. And he was just bombing away like this with his mouth open. So he got clipped while he was exhausted after 24 minutes and 30 seconds of fighting with his mouth open, and he got cracked and he got put down by the hardest punch, like a punch from the hip. So it was probably unfair of everybody saying, his chin's done. He's screwed, his chin's done. And I am in the camp of it's a hard fall from grace, and a guy who relies on his chin and absorbing damage to make a fight exciting, it's going to be a hard fall. But I do think the circumstances in that knockout loss matter. Because in this fight, he ate a couple of big shots. Another important note here. You'll notice Justin Gaethje's glove has nothing on it. Something's afoot. Now, they said, oh, the logo wore off in the warm-up. What? What the fuck? What do you mean the logo wore off in the warm-up? What the fuck are you talking about? Show me another fight in the last 10 years where the UFC logo wore off in the glove, warm-up or otherwise. Show me a fight where half of it is worn off. What do you mean it wore off? There's not a tiny piece of white. There's nothing on that glove. Nothing. Not a tiny piece of logo on the other glove either. So you mean to tell me there's 20 fighters on this card and only one fighter has the logo wear off of a glove, and it happens to be both gloves, and it happens to be the entire logo clean as a whistle? What? I feel like they gave him special gloves, and that's how he did so well. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me a fight where the logo wears off. Crazy. Dude, it's crazy. Never seen that before. That's nuts. Anyway, let's celebrate Rafael Fiziev for a second, because that dude looks spectacular. Let's remember, Justin Gaethje was preparing for a 5-round fight. He had a full training camp for a 5-round fight. And on 12 days' notice, Rafael Fiziev steps up on 12 days' notice after a year and a half away from the cage because of multiple surgeries and a knee problem. And he looked good. He looked real good. He almost had a spinning back heel kick knockout. This was the second one of the night, if it landed. He looked really good. Up until that uppercut. There was a beautiful uppercut where Justin Gaethje held the back of the head, blasted him with an uppercut that sat him down. Fiziev was on his ass, looking at the stars. Thank God the referee didn't overreact. He gave him time to recover. He recovered and all was good in the world. But Rafael Fiziev is a gamer. The dude is a ton of fun. What I thought was going to happen coming into this fight is Fiziev was going to beat Justin Gaethje, be a little faster, a little cleaner, a little younger, better chin. And I thought it was going to be a passing of the torch because Fiziev is exciting. He's very similar to Justin Gaethje in that he will engage in a slugfest. And notice I didn't say slug fight. You guys complain when I say slug fight. Slug fight and slugfest are two different words. Slugfest is technical. Bam, 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 bam. Everybody's in shape. Everybody's getting at it. Slug fight is like the sloppiest shit you've ever seen. Rafael Fiziev will bang. Justin Gaethje will bang. And it'll get wild, but it's not sloppy bullshit. That's the difference, guys. It's the words. Pay attention. Fiziev looked good in this fight. Justin Gaethje also looked good in this fight. But this looked very much like Justin Gaethje. No new wrinkles. Nothing changed, right? This was a Justin Gaethje fight. Rafael Fiziev, on the other hand, had 2 takedowns in the first 2 minutes of this fight. 2 takedowns. One was like a caught. Did he catch a kick? I forget. One was like a straight punch, followed him to the ground. Not as clean. The next one, he literally shot a single, picked it up, gets the takedown, ends up in a mounted reverse triangle position, which was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Ends up winning that round. Second round was doing really well till he ate that uppercut. Rafael Fiziev looked great in this fight. A reminder that he's a gamer. A reminder he's a ton of fun. Also a reminder he's a high-level athlete who's evolving. The takedowns were a new wrinkle in this fight. I loved watching it. This was a great fight. And it got us ready. We're ready for the main event. Great fight. Let's go. And then we hit the snooze fest. That was the main event. Listen, 2 things. 1, I picked Alex, right? But I didn't pick him with any wild level of confidence. If you go to our website, wewantpicks.com, you'll see his name and then low next to it. Like the confidence level was low. I did rant and rave all week long that Magomed Ankalaev would be the most boring champion in the world. And my whole narrative was, why would you want him to win? Right? I understand saying he will win for these reasons. But why would you want him to win? I went into this saying that Alex Pereira is one of the most active champions we have ever seen. Alex Pereira has knockout after knockout, exciting moment after exciting moment, one of the best entrances of all time. Why would you want to change that to the most boring guy in the division? 2 things. 1, I was correct. I still am correct. Ankalaev is boring as shit. 2, Alex was boring in this fight. Alex was the problem. Ankalaev was at least moving forward. What was Alex's deal? The caption of this picture says, were his hands broken? Because all we saw from Alex was a calf kick, calf kick, calf kick. We'll back up, calf kick, calf kick. And they were talking about, oh, he doesn't like the pressure of Ankalaev. And maybe he doesn't like the pressure of Ankalaev. But this is a little crazy. No, 25 minutes, you barely throw anything other than a calf kick? I'll tell you right now, I picked Alex. I want nothing more than for Alex to win this fight. I drew out a perfect world. I've said it to you guys time and time again, and that perfect world was Alex winning this fight, going up to heavyweight, beating Jon Jones. Okay, so I was very biased towards Alex. And I am sitting here right now saying this fight wasn't even close. I don't understand. When they were talking about it might be 2-2 going into the 5th. What? In what world was it 2-2? Alex... Oh, he won the first round with the calf kicks. Fine, I'll take it. He won the first round with the calf kicks because Ankalaev's calf was red. That's it. Did Ankalaev ever stumble? No. Did he trip? No. Did he look like he had any pain going on? No. What he did do was just move forward nonstop, though. So basically an even round where not much happened. You want to give Alex that round for the calf kicks? Fine, I'll take it. After that, what did Alex do? Second round, he was almost finished. Third round is like, well, that was the close one. The third round was close. How could that have gone either way? What did Alex do in the third round? Throw a couple of head kicks that didn't do much? What did he do in the third round? Fourth round, did nothing. Fifth round, did nothing. Fifth round was a round that he could have stolen. He had one nice head kick where sweat and spit went flying. But he didn't move forward. He didn't follow up. He didn't act on that. He just landed a nice head kick and left it alone. Then a few seconds later, maybe a minute later, he's got a beautiful jab. Just one. Didn't follow it up with the other hand. Didn't run him down. Didn't walk forward. And it was so frustrating to see because after he landed that really nice head kick against Ankalaev, Ankalaev stopped moving forward. Ankalaev had moved forward for 22 minutes at this point. He takes that head kick. All of a sudden, he's backing up. And Alex didn't follow. He didn't chase. He didn't let his hands go. So this was either Alex having an issue with the forward pressure of Ankalaev, or I think he was so worried about the wrestling and he spent so much time worrying about the wrestling that he kind of let the striking go. And he wasn't comfortable striking, either because the pressure, the looks he hadn't been getting, or I'm afraid to kick too, like if I kick to the body, he might catch it. If I overcommit, I mean, they may have said in camp, don't commit, don't plant. If you plant and you throw too hard, he is dropping under it and shooting it. I don't know, but this was not an Alex Pereira fight. He didn't let his hands go. He did almost nothing. And then his post-fight speech was effectively, I can't believe they gave him a decision. All he did was hold me against the cage. All that's going to do is encourage other people to hold fighters against the cage. And while there's some truth to that, that's always been the case. That's not new. That has literally always been the case. And now, more than ever, the judges are not caring about cage control. And I don't think it was a cage control. Alex defended like 12 takedowns or something crazy. And his takedown defense looked phenomenal. You can tell he was working on it. And that might have been the problem here. That literally might have been the problem. So congratulations to Ankalaev for just moving forward. Right? Ankalaev at least tried to, like, he did something. The guy's boring as shit. I'll never like him. Sorry. Just so boring. But Alex didn't do anything. Very disappointing. I was expecting when they interviewed Alex at the end, I mean, I had this injury, I had that injury. And maybe he's just tired. This is his 5th fight in like 13 months. Maybe he's just tired. Because every one of these fights is a main event fight. Every one of these fights comes with a PR world tour. Every one of these fights comes with like the pressure on this guy, the amount of attention. He had to save 3 cards in a 6-month time span. Like maybe it has all just caught up to him. He was fighting the best fighter he had fought so far. He was fighting the best wrestler he had fought so far. He was defending his belt for a 4th time. Like, maybe it all just came to a head and he was just tired, worn out, just couldn't get it going. I don't know. It didn't look like Alex. And now we're in a weird position where it's like, do we run it back? Like, this fight sucked. And I don't think Alex can win it. I don't think he can win this fight. I didn't see moments of like, there it is. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if this was a normal Alex, after he lands that head kick, he will come forward. He will get his hands going. Or maybe it's what he was afraid of. He'll get his hands going. As soon as he does, boom, Ankalaev shoots a takedown. I don't know. I don't know if I want to watch this fight again. As I'm filming this, I got a text from Jacob saying it's going to be Alex versus Ankalaev June 28th for International Fight Week. I honestly hope not. Of all the other fights they've rumored for that, I absolutely hope not. I would rather see Alex go up to heavyweight and give him a striker, because this fight sucked. And Ankalaev's next fight's going to suck. And what do you do with Ankalaev? What do you do? Give him Carlos Ulberg? You could probably out-wrestle Ulberg. Then what? Then we just run back through the gamut of just trash-ass Yuri, Jan. What do we do? This division's in a weird situation. Alex winning would have been the best thing to happen for this division. Long-time champion, can move up to heavyweight. You keep all the aura, the plot. Alex losing a boring decision where he was not out-wrestled, almost worst-case scenario. Almost. Because if he was out-wrestled, it's like, that's what happens. You gave me a crotch sniffer. That's not what happened, though. He lost the striking. The reality is Alex Pereira lost the striking because he was backing up the whole time, didn't let his hands go. Guys, let me know what you think. Every time I film one of these videos, one of my opinions gets absolutely roasted nonstop. Just nonstop. Is it this one? I don't know. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys thought of this fight. Let me know what you thought of some of these sketchier decisions earlier. And don't forget to go to the website. If you go to the website, wewantpicks.com, and you become a premium member, it's only $10 for an entire month. Here's the 4 cards you're going to get for those $10. And if you time it right, you'll actually get 5 cards. You're going to get UFC London, UFC Mexico. You're going to get the UFC Fight Night next week and the UFC Fight Night at the tail end of that. It's wewantpicks.com. Click become a member. It's freaking $10, you cheap sons of bitches. You saw the results from earlier. It's not just me. There's 3 of us. And the other 2 absolutely went off. And everything we do is available inside of an app. You can search the App Store for We Want Picks. Download the app. You'll get push notifications every time we place a bet, every time we make a pick, and every time we do anything. Guys, thanks for the watch. WeWantPicks.com.